Welcome.
It's time for the further adventures of Indiana Jones.
Some of the greatest adventures of my life are sitting in this beauty.
Big deal.
Pack your bag, grab your passport, and prepare to go globetrotting with Marvel Comics' classic four-color adventures of Indiana Jones.
Oh, your teacher.
Part-time.
Mr. Henry Jones, Jr. of Princeton, New Jersey.
I like Indiana.
We named the dog Indiana.
Now, what shall we talk about?
Welcome, IndyCast listeners and further fans, to the further adventures of Indiana Jones. I'm Joe Stuber, joined, as always, by Keith Voss.
Hey, Joe. I just put in the bonus disc of the Blu-ray. And let me tell you, wow.
Good stuff.
It's great stuff. Great stuff. But I have to agree with Mitch's Raiders rant. Come on. Really? You couldn't give us the whole thing? You couldn't give us deleted scenes, guys? Really? You give us these 2 seconds of teasing. You give us great stuff for the Raiders, but then you kind of brush aside the other sequels. Come on, there's some of us that love these movies. Give us the completed deleted scenes, please. That's all I ask for.
Yeah, I can't argue with that. I mean, I really love the deleted scenes for Raiders, but yeah, just seeing those kind of teased, Indy and Shorty on the elephant singing, and Chatter Lal and Willie, and just the Canyon of the Crescent Moon. I'm just
great stuff. And
when they do the versions beyond Blu-ray, where they implant a chip in our brain and we could see everything three-dimensionally like that, I'm sure they'll release all that footage then.
Yes,
so
by then I won't care.
So you won't care. You'll just be numb.
I really have to say that I can't believe we did get what we got as far as the deleted scenes for Raiders, because I mean that stuff has just been rumored and legend. The stuff of legend for years, and now finally get to see it, and I was really, really happy with seeing that. So, very, very cool stuff.
And I tell you what, we've got a really great episode. We've been talking about these issues for a while. We got to talk to David Michelinie, the writer of issues 9 and 10. We talked to Dan Reed, the artist of 9 and 10. Now it's our turn, and even with this issue, a radio drama. You and Rob and the rest of the crew did a radio drama out of these issues. And something very interesting I wanted to say, too. If people get a chance, there was something I caught recently. It's called The Intergalactic Nemesis, and it's the intergalacticnemesis.com, so go ahead and check out that website. But, Keith, you would have loved this thing. I mean, it is really cool. They created this Buck Rogers, Flash Gordon, Star Wars, Star Trek kind of mashup, and it's set in the 30s. It's an adventure. It's got aliens. Wrote a graphic novel, and then they're doing live radio shows in theaters. Talk about the radio dramas. This thing was really, really cool. So just wanted to throw that out there. Saw that. If you love the radio drama that Keith put together, several of the ones, go check out the IndyCast. Those are out there. Gold Goddess is one of them. But this is very cool. You get to see it live, and boy, I'd love to do something like this live. If we could pull that off at one of these points. I just thought I was watching this. I thought, boy, wouldn't that be cool to do Gold Goddess radio drama live if there's a way to do this? So
that would be very cool. Well, maybe at our first Indy celebration, we'll have to try to pull that off. I know they just did something similar like that at Star Wars Celebration with Smuggler's Gambit, another radio drama that they did. So we'll have to try to put something like that together. I know the fans would really appreciate it, and I would love to do something like that again.
Yeah, that'd be cool. So and the guys did a great job. TheIntergalacticNemesis.com. Go check it out. And speaking of really special things, we've got some cool stuff coming up on this segment. We've got the grand reopening of the Raven's Nest.
Yes, this is a big, big show, guys. Grand opening of the Raven's Nest. We got a very special guest with us tonight.
Whenever we head in, we always have a special guest. And
yes.
I think the listeners are really going to enjoy this one.
Opening night at the Raven's Nest.
Let's head inside to the hottest nightclub in town. Oh, well, Keith, it's the refurbished Raven's Nest. What do you think? I mean, it's all done.
Looks great. All we need is a guest.
We do need a guest. We need some drinks, too. We got to get our drink orders in. Let's head over to the guest of honor table. Our first guest in our refurbished Raven's Nest. the man with the indie opinion himself. Ladies and gentlemen, it is Rob Magee. Rob, welcome back to the IndyCast.
Thanks for having me. Boy, the Raven's Nest looks beautiful. I almost got lost in here.
Pretty cool. You should have seen it a couple of weeks ago. You know, there was stuff everywhere, man. Blown up.
It was very explosive, yeah.
It's a very explosive place. Exactly.
Hazards of the job.
Exactly.
Anytime you get in. Hey, Rob, welcome back to the IndyCast. I tell you what, we, as longtime fans of the IndyCast, Keith and I were just really enjoyed your Indy Opinion segment for so long. And really, we thought this would be perfect because you and Keith put together the Gold Goddess radio drama. I mean, you guys took this thing and ran with it, and we thought, boy, what a better time to get an opinion, which is what we do here on the issues, but for 9 and 10 with the Gold Goddess. I mean, you know these issues better than anybody.
Well, I don't know about better than anybody, but we spent a little bit of time with them.
That's for sure. That's for sure.
Take me through that a little bit. What was the sort of process like when you guys got to work together? Because that's sort of when I jumped in, getting to know you guys through the IndyCast was kind of through the radio dramas and the trivia segments and things like that. But what was the process like? How did that genesis come about with you guys putting this together?
Wow. Well, it started with Keith, actually. With Keith's first story, the Lair of the Vampire.
Yes.
And I can't remember whose idea it was to turn that into a radio drama.
It was Ed's idea. I had written that story just as kind of like a little gift for Ed. And he loved it, and he said this would be great. Instead of just reading it on the IndyCast, let's just do some type of like an old style radio drama. I thought that was a great idea, and I thought it came out great, and I really loved it. I loved that idea, and then we did the adaptation for the
Temple
Free
of Yearning.
Comic Book Day, exactly, Temple of Yearning, and that came out great, and we had a good time with that, and you know, figuring we loved the Further Adventure so much, we figured why not do an adaptation of one of the more popular stories. It was either down to Gold Goddess or it was going to be The Fourth Nail.
Well, what made you guys determine to go with Gold Goddess? Was it just that it was such a direct sequel to Raiders?
Well, for me, that's why I started adapting that one. I was really, when it came down to it, I really enjoyed that story the most. So, and I knew fans would really identify with it being a sequel to Raiders. They would identify with the characters more, and I figured, why not do a radio drama for these issues of Further Adventures? I thought it would be perfect. And then, you know, Rob had already been doing Indy's voice at that point, and he was doing the editing as well. So that, you know, him and I were emailing each other back and forth, and that's how we kind of arranged everything, right, Rob?
Yeah. You sent over the script, and then it was a matter of getting together all the voice actors that we were going to need.
Yeah, people from
around the world, didn't you? Yeah.
It was an international thing.
Yeah.
Amazing.
What was the toughest part about, because I know in just doing the voice of Indiana Jones and Harrison Ford, but is there a challenge in there somewhere? Because there's always that adventurous Indy, there's always the kind of disgruntled Indy with his dad, there's always like the get off my lawn Indies. I mean, there's like all these different, I mean, it seems like Harrison Ford might have a one-note performance in these, but really, when you think about it, there's all kinds of different Indies. Do you kind of feel that as you're going into these adventures, kind of trying to find the right tone?
Yeah, and it's difficult. I mean, it's difficult enough for me just to get the words out right, let alone trying to do it with the right voice. But
stick to the script.
Stick to the script. But and it's hard when you're just reading a script. There's nobody in front of you, so you're trying to put emotion into it. And it was a little bit tougher. I think we're getting better at it as we go along, and at least I feel like I am. With the Gold Goddess, it was a little bit better than with Temple of Yearning. And so, yeah, it's kind of hard to get into the emotion of the part. And then you watch Harrison Ford, you listen to him, and his voice changes based on the emotion of the scene and the emotion he's trying to convey. But a lot of his emotion is conveyed with his face, his facial expressions. So, it's tough to try to match up with the voice, and you sort of have to go a little bit bigger when you're doing just audio than it would be when you've got the video to go with it.
Yeah, you got to sell the image.
Exactly.
It's probably a little bit better with the comic book than just original adventures, because you at least have that to play off of. But yeah, you're right. I mean, that is the trick when you're doing just audio.
Yeah.
Well, I think you guys did an amazing job, and I think you got even better with the read-along. When you
thanks.
did the read-along, I mean, I thought that was even. I thought it hit that Last Crusade kind of tone with the father-son dynamic.
Yeah.
Junior.
Which is a lot of fun.
Yeah, it was a fun little story to do, and yeah, hopefully we'll have the second one of those read-alongs coming out very, very soon. So keep an ear out for those.
Yeah, keep those pipes warmed up, Rob, for your next Challenges Indy. So we will be getting that out, rest assured. But hey, we're speaking of Gold Goddess. We talked about the radio drama. Also, it's a TSR Adventures of Indiana Jones game. We've got those pictures up on the Facebook page. So, yeah, there's a lot going on with these issues. We got to talk about them in depth with the writer, David Michelinie, the artist, Dan Reed. We've certainly gone in depth, but we haven't given our indie opinions yet. So
Not
that's
yet.
what we want to do here in the Raven's Nest today. And Rob, that's why we wanted to have you on board too, just to kind of break these issues down. So what do you say? Why don't we jump into it and break these issues down? Oh, Keith, I think we finally got a name for her, for our alarm lady. I think we do. Yeah. Hey, a lot of people wrote in on this. I didn't think we'd get that many indie opinions on this, but we did. Some really good names out there.
We sure did.
We didn't go with Blucher, though, did we?
No, we didn't go or Frau Verbissina. But
lies, all lies.
But the name that we did wind up choosing is also quite interesting. It has a little bit of a connection to the rest of the indie series, and what could that be? Rob, any ideas?
Well, if I had to take a guess, I would say we went with Wilhelmina.
Yes.
Wilhelmina. Yeah, that was a great one. Yeah, we got a
Wilhelmina
couple of people
Screama.
wrote in on that.
Yes.
So
Yes.
You've got your winners that came up with that name, John Rivers and Matt Chalich.
Yes, the winners of the contest with no prize except for bragging rights.
Yeah, you win.
Congratulations, guys.
Nothing. I mean, yeah.
You win nothing.
Enjoy hearing her name. Enjoy hearing her name on the IndyCast.
You can fit that into the Further Adventures budget.
We did. Yes.
Oh, Leland Shee from Lucasfilm. You hearing that? Wilhelm.
Let's get that into continuity.
Canon. Let's go.
Seriously. Hey, Keith, well, we've got our name, but why don't you give us a few other names? Why don't you break down the list of creators on this one?
Let's do it. We're going to be reviewing Further Adventures of Indiana Jones, issue number 9, The Gold Goddess, chapter 1, Zomex Raiders, with a cover date of September 1983. The cover, Howard Chaykin and Terry Austin. The plot by Archie Goodwin. Script by David Michelinie. Pencils by Dan Reed. Inks by Danny Bulinati. Colors by Bob Sharon. And letters by Joe Rosen. Guys, what'd you think of that cover?
Well, which cover are you referring to, Keith?
Oh, that's right. We got a new cover. Hopefully you guys check that out on the Further Adventures Facebook page. I'm referring to the one with Zomek, or at least that appears to be Zomek. We're holding the spear. Indy is dangling off a rooftop in New York City. Pretty cool cover, I have to admit. But, again, it's not entirely true to the story because it's not really Zomek that's going after Indy. But I'll take it. Very cool. Tattoo's a little different, again. But I think it's a pretty action-packed cover. Indy's
Rob, how did you get out of that one?
I'll tell you what, that was a kung fu grip I had on there with my right hand.
For sure. Indy looks like he's about to go over, man. What did you think, Joe?
I like that cover a lot. I mean, it is action packed. I love the lighting on it. Howard Chaykin did a great job on that. You've really got a cool angle on it, but I don't know. I'm kind of torn now because we've got that new cover by Dan Reed, which gives us that really cool indie and the Chachapoyan Idol. He worked that into it, and the two characters, the two villains. So I don't know. I think it's an embarrassment of riches that I like. Rob, you've had a chance to take a look at both of them. Which one do you like?
Oh, do I have to pick just one? I like them both.
You don't. I picked them both. You don't have to do anything.
I like them both. I like the little leopard tail coming off the back of the warrior on the cover. The original cover. I think that's kind of interesting, helping him keep his balance up there with his tail. No, I love the same thing with the lighting coming up from the street below and the buildings in the background. I think that's a great cover, but where that new one is something else too.
Yeah, very cool. We were very lucky to get that, huh?
Yeah, I love having that 30 years later. And like I said, you can just go to a quarter bin, buy one of these, maybe a little raggedy copy, and slap that new cover on it, and you got yourself a collector's item.
Yep.
That's pretty
Very
cool.
cool.
Well, when we get into the story itself, and I think that first image right off the bat, that's to me is one of the coolest ways to start the story, is to really tell us that this is a direct sequel to Raiders of the Lost Ark, our favorite movie of all time.
Yes, it is. Direct sequel to Raiders, taking place a few weeks after Raiders, and we find Indy with Sallah, a return for Sallah, in Marrakesh. Indy mentions that in Raiders, he just, there's only one place but Balak can sell it, Marrakesh. He needs a couple of $1,000s. He's here. There's that big full moon hanging in the sky, which for me reminded me of the boulder in Raiders. That's just something I got out of the artwork right away. I mentioned that in the Dan Reed interview, and I included that in the radio drama.
Yeah, he kind of played off that too. He said he didn't do that intentionally, but it was very cool that people can read into his art like that. And Rob, we had talked about too on some of the earlier casts with the vertical panels that we see in a lot of these issues now. It's sort of a different play on the old 6-panel layouts that Marvel did for so many years. I mean, when you're looking at some of these things, how does that inform you as to the perspective of what's going on?
Oh, I think it's kind of an interesting take on it. You get a lot on the page that way. I look at those bottom panels. I don't know, it kind of cuts off the edges of it, but it helps make it a little bit more focused.
Yeah, I agree. I totally agree. I also totally get a Well of the Souls vibe on this opening page. You got Sallah dropping Indy down, and he's already, the first line is easy with that rope, Sallah. You can tell Indy still is remembering back to that Well of Souls situation. Like, hey, take it easy with that rope. Remember what happened last time.
I told you it would be all right.
And a little bit of trivia on Sallah too. I think didn't this work its way into one of Pat's trivia segments?
Yeah, it actually came from me. That was one of the Brotherhood questions that I sent in. Was, how many sons does Sallah have? He has 14 sons. Jeez, I mean he's man. Like Indy mentions, that's a different set of muscles that he's been working for sure.
Rob, you've got a couple of kids. Well, 14. 14 in the plans?
I'm not working on that, but then again, I'm not the best digger in Cairo, so.
Good point. So Indy is dropping into Saad Hassim's antiquities shop to get back what was once his, but he runs into a couple of thieves who have beaten him to the punch. Guys, what did you think about this? I mean, these thieves are stealing from Saad Hassim, but can't we say the same thing about Indy? I mean, he's always been, accused of being a grave robber, but now he's like an actual just, antiquity shop robber. Kinda. I don't know, what'd you think?
Ooh, yeah, I mean, I guess that's always the fine line that Indy's walking when he's trying to get these artifacts back. I suppose he's figuring it was stolen from him. Of course, he stole it from the Chachapoyan Temple to begin with.
Yeah,
and round we go.
I agree. The big difference is that Indy did not murder Saad Hassim. These two thieves did.
Very true.
He was murdered in cold blood. Indy drops down. Someone's been here before us, and their Saad is seen with a knife sticking out of his chest. The blood is just like going through the tiles on the floor, and with apologies to Goldilocks, those two thieves are still there.
Yeah, so a lot of gray areas with Indy, but again, he's the good guy because he didn't murder. The person was there. So, yeah, I just thought it was a little suspect as we kind of come into here because, ultimately he is a robber. I mean, he goes through these things. And I think even as far as Crystal Skull goes, I mean, that element is still brought into play. That question is still being asked. And, I mean, it kind of, rubs him the wrong way. But, I mean...
Yeah, but he tells... I mean, Mutt translates that sign. Grave robbers will be shot on sight. Good thing we're not grave robbers. so Indy makes it clear we're not grave robbers. Speaking of Crystal Skull, did Saad Hassim's shop kind of remind you guys of that of Akator, like where all the antiquities were kind of found? They were archaeologists. They reminded me a little bit of that room now on a recent reading of this comic. I don't know, it just kind of jumped out at me.
Yeah, something seemed a little familiar.
Yeah, sure. I can see that.
But he does take, Indy does take action against these thieves. And speaking of those antiquities, Lasso's a pretty big one there with his whip. The Thieves think he missed, but Indy wasn't going for them. He was going to take them both out with that cat statue there. Yeah, again, really love the whip jokes and the whip references that we have in here. I mean, I think they use that to great effect.
A lot of uses of the whip, man. He uses the whip a lot, and that is a great drawing on that second page, the title page of Indy throwing that whip back. It's very, very cool artwork. But yeah, it doesn't seem like Indy has a lot of care. I mean, he's very focused. He doesn't have a lot of care for that cat statue. He just wrecks it like it's worthless.
Yeah, There's a couple little lines that Indy crosses here. But you know what? His dad did that in Last Crusade. He didn't know that the statue that he hit Indy over the head with wasn't real.
Fake.
It's a fake. But he didn't know that. So it's just like, you know what? They'll do whatever it takes. I mean, if it needs to get him out of a jam, I want this one, but I'm willing to sacrifice this antiquity. So
that gold lady is very alluring.
Yeah,
it is. And you could tell just by the way, and this is where the art really, no pun intended, shines. It's like, you see the way Indy, his eyes are focused on that idol when he finally does recover it. He's looking at it, it's fierce, it's cold, it's mine. At least until I can get it back to the museum. He just
belongs in the museum.
Wow, I got it. It belongs in the museum. And I love how they show Indy throwing the statue up and the way Sallah catches it. It's very, very well done. And we get Sallah again singing British Tar.
Yeah.
Keith, give us a few bars of that.
A British tar is a soaring soul, as free as a mountain bird.
Better hold the chorus, buddy.
Will be ready.
He does. Indy puts a stop to that because he's still not done with the thieves. I mean, he took them out, but he didn't take them all the way out.
Well, yeah, there's Saul up there singing, and Indy's getting his head blown off down below.
Come on, Saul. Has Saul ever really provided much help for Indy? Come on, let's think about this.
A little bit later now.
I guess.
Salah doesn't have his kids there to send down the rope to block all the bullets like he did.
Indeed, yeah.
Oh, come on. Anyway.
Yeah, Indy's got to figure another way out because his, that escape route's cut off. So he takes out the door to an alleyway. Whoops. Again, in the world of Indiana Jones, there's never a clean getaway, is there?
There's no such thing.
And in this time, this time too, Joe, you called him out in our interview with Dan Reed, but Indy loses his fedora at this point. It's gone. We don't see it on his head anymore.
Nope, it's gone. It's gone for the issue, and also in the second issue, as we'll get into in our next part. But he loses it twice, and it was so cool to hear Dan explain that. Was that he didn't want to draw the hat?
Yeah,
simple as that. And you know what? We've heard that from so many different artists that we've talked to here on Further Adventures. That from different angles, different perspectives, that's just a tough thing to draw, and to get that action effect going, it's just easier to just draw a hatless Indy. So, but I love how the two of you brought that back in with the radio drama, that he does go back and get the hat. And I think you even did it at the end of the second one, too.
Yes, I did.
Sort of the Last Crusade kind of thing.
I had to. Like, that's something I noticed even when I was younger and I read this comic for the first time. I was like, oh, wait, where's his hat now? And so I had to make sure, like, when he went through that door, I could just picture it. If this was a movie, I could picture Indy just bending down. He's not going to leave that hat behind. He's going to bend down and put it back on, fix it onto his head, and then boom, those lights are going to come on, and then that's where this car is going to give chase, which it does. It's starting to chase Indy down. He turns a corner. He hits up a dead end. Where to go from here? Uses that whip again. Nowhere to go but up. That's right.
Yeah.
This way up. So he snaps that whip onto looks like a water drain pipe, and that thing is just crumbling up. It's crumbling under his weight, and we get a helping hand from Sallah once again. So Sallah does help Indy finally. He does do something.
He stopped singing long enough.
He comes through. He stops singing, and Yeah, he
Man,
pulls
everything's
Indy
got
up.
to break into song like every 10 seconds. It's like, come on, Sala, just do something.
Well, at least they kept him in character. That's for sure.
They did.
That's right.
They kept him in character. But
And-
what we get next here is I think a really cool. That car just smashes into that wall. Whoever's in that car, I feel bad for them. But now Sala seems to have made a little mistake here, guys.
Well, he can't do everything right. He finally saved Indy, but he had to put him right back in harm's way.
Yeah, he forgot to
Get
pull
that
up that
rope.
rope. He forgot to pull up that rope. And one thing,
Okay, so he's the best digger in Cairo, but he's not the best rope caretaker in Marrakesh.
Yeah, exactly. Even in Raiders, he had some problems with that rope. The Germans wanted his rope. He. Oh
have
my
some
God,
rope issues.
Colin his ropes. Jeez.
But Indy still trusts him.
I loved the writing in this story, hands down. If I had one complaint, it would be when Indy says, "Yeah, just like the rope, we forgot to pull from the storeroom." Sala says, "Oops." I just don't hear
Yeah.
Sala. Oops, I'm sorry. I changed that in the radio drama. I totally cut that out. I just didn't think it was very Sala-like to say "oops." I don't know
I
about
think
you.
Michelini took a shortcut there.
Yeah. So
It's almost like, go!
We have these two thieves taking shots at Indy and Sala.
Yeah, I'm gonna say the action in this is unbelievable. I mean, when you think just the first few panels. I mean, Rob, when you were going through this, what were you thinking about all the action that they just like jam packed into just the first few pages of this issue?
Well, it's awesome. I mean, it's like the movie, right? I think it's kind of like Raiders of the Lost Ark. He is in the Well of the Souls. He gets out. He has to get in a fight. Then he has to go get on the horse. Then he has to get on the truck. Then he has to beat up the Nazis and keep driving the truck. It's sort of like that, where it's just one thing right after the other. He knocks down the thieves. He gets the idol. Now they're shooting at him. Now he's out the door. Now it's a car. Now they're behind him. He's got to jump across the roofs. It's fun.
Yeah, it's a lot of fun. We get a great rooftop chase here.
How about that panel at the top of the page when they're just, that we talked about sort of going back to Gene Colan. Dan Reed had said that, but I kind of get that a little bit from that panel where they're just sort of leaping into action over that, that boulder moon is behind him. It's almost like he's running away from the boulder.
Yeah, exactly. I think that's probably where I got that whole idea in the first place, is just from this panel. I love how Sala mentions his wife Faya. My sweet wife Faya could see me now. I just have a quick little moment here. When I was young and I watched Raiders of the Lost Ark, I always thought whenever Marion kissed Sala and she said, "That is for Faya," I thought she always said, "That is for fire."
Me too.
I had no idea.
That is for fire. That is for your children, and this is for you.
Had no idea that she was saying fire. That's the name of Sala's wife.
No, I thought she was being spiritual. I thought it was like some kind of big spiritual.
If you ever get
burned, boy, that's deep.
If you ever get caught in a fire, that's this kiss is for that. It's like, whoa. So reading this comic, when I finally saw Sala say, "But if my sweet wife Faya could see me now," I put two and two together. And I was like, okay, that's what Marion meant. So this comic helped me realize that Sala's wife was named Faya, and Marion didn't mean fire.
Cool. Fire, 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 fire.
And who knew Sala was so limber?
Yeah, geez. But he...
Not a great landing.
He didn't stick the landing.
That's true.
Although this is even worse. I mean, he's basically landing on his head. He's got it tucked up.
Yeah.
His legs are like,
there may be a separated shoulder involved in this one.
I think so.
Exactly. I'm holding up my 5 card if you guys can't see that right now. Might stick that landing. But those two thieves are quite spry. They just kind of like jump over, boom, land, no problem. But Indy and Sala then hit up that next roof, and Sala is starting to run out of some steam here. He's like, I don't think I can keep this up all night.
I mean, how many rooftops, how many bullets are you going to dodge? I mean, they're just firing bullets at it. It's a horrible shot, by the way. I mean, you can't hit the brush out of a barn. He is moving quick. He's not singing now. I mean, he's just huffing and puffing right now.
Well,
that's true. That's for sure. And unfortunately, Indy and Sala have come to a point where they can't jump on any other roofs. The only way they can go, down.
Straight down.
Yeah. How about that cool panel by Dan Reed there? Really nice again. You get those rooftop chases, the horizontal panels, just going from rooftop to roof. I don't know if I appreciated this as a kid reading this book, but I just love the layout, the design that he has here. Every time he's changing perspective, they'll change those panels. And he gets the verticals, the horizontals. To me, it puts me right in the adventure.
I agree. I love their little yell when they jump off the roof. Geronimo! And Sala yells, Allah! I love that. Interesting. They land in a truck full of camel straw. So Indy thinks that was luck, but Sala thinks it was karma. Very good karma. I love the joke here in the next panel where Sala says, "I don't suggest we push our karma," and he's like, "Right, I'll drive." I always thought that was a little kind of like, ooh, zinger.
Yeah.
You remember maybe it's just because I was just watching it last night again, Indiana Jones and the Last Crusade. Some of the faces Indy was making as Sala was driving them out to the desert. He wasn't the biggest fan of Sala's driving.
How both of those shots were blurry. Ay, ay, ay.
I know.
Yeah,
right?
The focus on that goes in and out.
That was weird.
It's so much more obvious now when you see it in HD. I mean, it was pretty obvious before in standard, but now it's just like, oi, it's really just like.
Yeah. Or when we're not watching it with the eyes of youth, the starstruck eyes of youth.
Yeah. So they hit the gas and they're out of there with that. They have the idol, they have everything they need, and Sala loves this life. Anybody know?
Keith, you did the song. Did you? I mean, did you look it up when you were recording it?
I just wanted to sing it. I just thought it would be.
Okay, because I didn't know if you channeled something like the actual. I think he made it up. I think McLean made it up. I couldn't find anything. Could you?
I have no idea where that is from. If anybody knows where that's from,
I don't think it's a real song.
I don't know. Sing away, ye winds of heaven, wafting high o'er Karen's brow.
I googled the lyrics. I didn't come up with anything. Maybe it's some local song. Something in his neighborhood,
or maybe he wrote it.
Maybe he did.
Hey, there you go.
That's what he was doing instead of pulling up the rope.
Exactly.
Just wasn't that helpful in this section, was he?
But I thought I sounded good when I sang it anyway. So that's
you did.
No, it worked. I think it up because you had a nice tune to it and everything. It was very good.
Yeah, thanks. Yeah, I honestly I just sang it like I thought he would sing it.
Nah, you and Sala.
So he's
kindred spirits.
He's my boy. So here we go.
So he's singing as he's driving away, and we finally get our first look at our thieves. We find out what we need to know about them. Well, kind of. We find out what we need to know about one of them.
One of them, yes, one of them. I also thought it was interesting that Dan Reed, in our interview, he also mentioned that once he's seen Crystal Skull, he figures that these two characters have a very similar. He sees this character, this blonde character, acting the same kind of way, a very moody kind of character. What do you guys think?
The same kind of way as Spalko, that's what you're saying?
Yeah. Spalko.
Okay, yeah, I can see that. I mean, you look at even just the style with the short hair and everything, and and we find out that it's personal for her.
Yes.
Yeah, that's him up there.
There's something going on. Like, she knows Indy, but we're not tipped off as to what her identity is just yet. We'll look forward to that in part 2. We do get the name of her sidekick here, which is Zomek. So we know him, and that's the one we have on the cover. This warrior. But he kind of asks, do you know him? And she does. So there's something going on here, and she wants Indy dead.
She recognizes him from photographs. Now, From photographs, yes. As said very, very lovely by my wife, Kay, who did the voice.
Yep.
Yeah, who did the
deaths of Indiana Jones.
The deaths of Indiana Jones. Oh my God,
she was so sinister and evil.
But she's so sweet. I had to direct her to be that way. Trust me.
It was just like, what's my motivation here? Yeah.
I had to give her a little motivation. I didn't do the dishes that night, so.
So that was against you, the death of Keith Voss.
I mean Indiana Jones.
You had to record those separate and splice in the Indiana Jones. Yeah.
Zomek's face tattoo is pretty interesting too here. A little different from what the tattoo is on the cover, like I mentioned earlier, but pretty cool. Definitely very cool for a villain.
this is what you want for villains in an Indiana Jones adventure. I don't know what you guys think, but to me, these are like two of the coolest villains ever.
I agree.
Oh, they're awesome. Yeah.
Without a doubt. Without a doubt.
I mean, this seems like something Indiana Jones could, I want a movie out of this. I want Indy 5. I want this to. Yeah, I know. We're blah 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 blah. I know.
Again,
my Raiders rant.
The Raiders rant, and Mitch did a great job on his last one for sure. But we have to say that these stories, like I said, the two stories that I wanted to do as the radio dramas, Gold Goddess and Fourth Nail, I think are some of the most cinematic stories that Further Adventures has given us.
Yep.
And especially this being a direct sequel, so this is the one, like I said before, this is the one I wanted to go with. What we get is a great story. We get all the familiar characters, we get great situations, and just a slam bang story.
Yeah, and speaking of familiar characters, we're heading 3 days later to the exclusive Diamond Eye nightclub. A little competition for the Raven's Nest here. I don't know.
Yeah, I like our place better.
Our place looks a lot better, but you know what?
Especially now.
Yeah,
yes.
I mean, it's fixed up.
Rob is here classing up the joint, so
we need another round of drinks here too, don't we, guys? I think we're running a little bit low, so why don't we? Let's order another round of drinks. But we got Marcus and Marion. Yay, Marion's back. We got Marion Ravenwood back, and they're waiting on Indy.
Yeah, but Marion's a little angry.
Oh, Marion's always angry at Indy.
Yeah, she's always angry at Indy. I mean, well, Indy's late, and they get to talking. Her and Marcus get to talking. It looks like the relationship is kind of on the rocks, put on hold. She mentions after the whole Lost Ark fiasco, whatever relationship we had could be interrupted at any time. And hey, look, it's Indiana Jones. He's going off as often as he can to get his as Marion puts it, pre-whatever trinkets.
Pre-whatever trinkets. You saw that frustration in Raiders with her dad. Abner dragging me all over this earth for his little bits of junk. I mean, she doesn't care about that. She doesn't care about these things. She cares about Indiana Jones. She cares about having a relationship. She cares about, But again, we see where Indy's mind is, and as we know from Crystal Skull, look, that's what he ended up doing. They don't get together.
Yep, the loyalties are always divided.
Mm-hmm. That's right. And it looks like the Diamond Eye is pretty packed, and you got tons of people there for this exhibit. Tons of reporters. They all seem to make a beeline towards that elevator. A reporter, of which I think I recognize a voice of this.
You're not rushing for the elevator, Mr. Brody.
Yes,
my cameo. Keith gave me a cameo. That was awesome.
Oh, I had to rename the reporters. Come on, I couldn't just have it be like Ernie and whoever. It's like I had to do like Joey. I still love when Laird. We'll get to that.
Ow! Holy, jeez, my arm,
Joey. Yeah, you were nice enough to kind of give us a couple of cameos there as the reporter.
I figured that would be just perfect for you guys.
We
love
that
part of it, and it was a fun little thing. And these reporters are gathering around the elevator, and we get Indy in tux, idol in hand.
First time Indy in tux.
First time tuxedo Indy.
Yep.
Predating Temple of Doom.
And what an entrance.
Yes, it is. Yes, it is. Absolutely. Obviously, this is originally how George Lucas envisioned Indiana Jones. He envisioned him as a playboy, as he's
James Bond,
as a James Bond playboy type adventurer, and we get him. We get him in this story.
Yep. With the light sparkling off the idol, all the people standing around. I think Indy liked having the audience there when he came out.
I think so too. I think so.
Yeah, it's usually just students looking at him longingly. But this is. Hey, Rob, what do you think of which Indy do you like? I mean, do you like Tuxedo James Bond Indy, Teacher Indy, Adventure Bullwhip Indy? I mean, there's a lot of different Indies.
Do I keep falling back on the same answer? I like that I like that we see all the different sides of Indy. He's dimensional. There's not just the one. This is cool. I mean, here's Indy coming out. He's all ready with his clever line. Bow ties always did give me trouble.
Yep.
He's got the kind of suave look. We see it a little bit later with Marion on the dance floor, how he kind of smooths over that situation. He's got the charm. But then you've got the academic Indy, who's kind of a nerd and knows all these facts and will run them off. I love that there's so many different sides to the character, and we get to see them all.
Yeah, I think for the most part, people just kind of know Indy as the bullwhip, the hat, the gun, and those types of things. But yeah, you're right. I mean, he just brings so many different dimensions to this character. I think that's probably the most frustrating part for us indie fans is that we know there's so much depth and dimension to these characters. We just want to see more of them.
Yeah, we
for sure.
find more every time.
Yep.
And it seems that they have duplicated the Chachapoyan Temple in Peru in this club. Now, how they did that, I have no idea, but it's here.
Duplicated
Marcus,
in more ways than one, too.
In more ways than one. Hopefully without the traps. But Marcus takes the idol from Indy. He makes his way. He has a couple of little adjustments to make to the display. He gets there and he finds poor Carver. They made a duplicate of the temple, obviously without the traps, but doesn't seem like they did it without Javitos.
No, and Carver, he fares about as well as Forrestal and Satipo did.
Exactly. And we get our appearance of the Javitos and Zomek in all of their shirtless glory.
Yeah, no bums
there.
No bums. It's like weird you out when you were a kid watching Raiders. You're just like a bunch of bums.
Yes, they were carefully drawn here. Yeah.
The Javitos are here. Poison is still fresh. 3 days. Obviously, they were following them. But if they knew they were there, I guess they would have killed them already. But anyway, Marcus stands up to them. He even, maybe if it was 5 years ago, he would have fought them himself. But but he doesn't. Zomek introduces himself. Zomek does a little monologuing here
in English.
Yes, exactly. Tells him who
he does not have to speak Jovitos.
Exactly. Yeah, that's a good point. Marcus does not have to learn Jovitos.
I guess they know English when they want. They speak English when they want to.
And you notice in the one panel, the tattoo comes up a little bit higher than it does in the other. Look at the close-up panel. It comes up over his eyebrow.
Yes, it does.
Up over his eye. That's
Looks even a little more fearsome.
Yeah,
I kind of like that.
Yeah, me too.
It's kind of got a Mike Tyson thing going on there.
I hope. See, good thing we got Silvio Manello to do the voice of Zomek. Can you imagine Mike Tyson doing the voice of Zomek? Yeah,
I'll take your idol.
I'm sitting on the mighty Chachapoyan Warriors.
I'm gonna knock you guys out. Oh man.
Oh, if only we had known that back in '83.
Yeah. Oh, the fun we would have with that.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. So Marcus stands up to them, and it looks like Zomek gets his idol back,
and Indy gets out of trouble.
Indy gets out of some trouble here, and
he's so charming.
He is so charming. He's got Marion wrapped around his little finger. I mean, that little strain. I don't even know why I put up with you. And how about this? This is why you put up.
But lay a smacker on you.
And she's just like, oh yeah, that's right. I forgot. So Indy
that really goes back to kind of the B movie style of the series, though, doesn't it? I mean, the hero, all he has to do is kiss her, sweeps her right back off her feet.
You just hear that cheesy music kind of swelling up in those old 30s serials. Yeah.
Until the next panel.
Yeah, we have reporters. We have the reporters gathering around the display room door, saying, "Come on, what's going on? We got deadlines here." Zomek, now, where does he get this gun? It's got to be from Carver, right? I mean, it's got to be from the security guard.
I guess that's my only assumption because he doesn't really have any place to put it.
Well, he does, but we won't go there anyway. So yeah, he just kind of whips his gun out. Excuse me while I whip this out, and he just starts like shooting away here. Would-be defilers must be discouraged. And sorry, Joey.
Yeah,
Joey gets here.
Yeah, I took one for the team on that.
And I loved that. Laird sent me multiple readings of that line, and the one I chose was so far and away my favorite one.
Joey.
It's so like sad and desperate.
So
like he's hurt.
Well done, Joey. I like that the voice even cracks a little bit.
It was just beautiful.
It was really perfect.
Good on you, Laird.
Well
done. I think I survived, though. The shot in the arm.
Yeah, you're doing all right.
Yeah,
just a flesh wound.
For someone who got shot, you were very relaxed. Like, holy jeez, my arm.
My arm. 1930s reporter talk. Yeah, see?
Not cliched at all.
No, it wasn't at all.
Not at all. Indy makes a beeline to that room. Someone with guns is trying to steal that idol, and Marcus is in there. Now things are serious.
Yeah,
now things are serious.
Another action adventure scene here, and we get a lot of those vertical panels as he hits the ledge.
Well, which is perfect for this type of situation. I mean, you really get that a kind of a dizzying feeling. Like you see, I mean, the artwork here really stands out again.
Well, and Dan Reed mentioned he did a lot of research on this. A lot of research.
Well, it shows.
Well, and how about Marion's dress? It obviously was not made to run in.
No, especially not on rooftops or on ledges. Well, we comment on that. The last couple of adventures, she's dressed appropriately, but for the most part, isn't Marion just like always inappropriately dressed?
Especially in this adventure. But then again, she wasn't really expecting to go out on the roof. But you know what? Come on, she's with Indiana Jones.
She expects something.
You're going to be ready for anything.
Yeah, you have to be ready for anything. You know what? So this should be a lesson learned. If you're going out with Indiana Jones, be ready, okay?
Jogging shorts underneath that evening gown.
That would have been good. That would have been a good idea.
Yeah, so we're up 23 stories, guys.
Yeah.
23 stories. Indy sees the Jovitos crawling out that window.
Coming after him.
They're
Blow darts.
Blow darts. He almost buys it right away, but who's there to save him?
Of course, Marion.
Of course, Marion's there to save him. Just like she saved him in Raiders. She's there to save
saving your life, dummy.
Yes.
Oh, and the snark. What do you think I'm doing? The Lindy Hop? Yeah, just
That's very much in character.
Yes.
I want to see her do the Lindy Hop. Come on. That's what I want to see.
Well, Indy almost did the Indy Hop right off the ledge, so thank goodness Marion was there. But seriously, folks, I'm here all week.
Don't forget to tip your waiter.
Hey, he's right over there. Yeah, we're in the Ravens Nest. He's right. Tip your waiter.
Here. So, let's see. We have Indy.
With no whip. No whip. Nope, he's got to make it up as he goes along. But I'm glad they didn't use that joke here this time, though. Thank goodness.
Whip it good? Is that the joke you mean?
Well, he does something with that jacket. He's trying to use the jacket. But yeah, he gets caught in the... Yeah, the Jovitos, they're sneaky. I mean, they trick him to come out. He thinks he's safe, but he gets out, to the point of no return on the ledge. And there he is. He's ready with that blow dart. And Indy's got to do a little something here with his jacket.
And it looks like they're the typical bad guy, bad shot kind of thing. I mean, the other guy is at pretty close range.
Yeah.
And he misses Indy, but Indy uses that jacket, whips him right in the face with it. Oh man. I mean, that's just like
that's lethal.
It's lethal.
It is. He drops.
It sends him right over the side, but I mean, I love the way that this is drawn. You see the Jovito warrior grab that jacket, and it just pulls him over the edge, and all Indy can think of is nuts. Yes.
Another shortcut by Michelin.
Listen about that. He loses his glasses. Unbelievable.
Yeah.
He has the second pair at home, but it doesn't matter. We got a second Jovito guard coming around that edge.
Yeah. Now, is it Zomek?
It's not Zomek. There's no tattoo on his face.
Well,
but
in the one panel, there is a tattoo in the one panel.
One panel, but it's obviously, as we know from reading issue 10, it's not Zomek.
Right.
Yeah.
It's not Zomek for sure, or else we wouldn't have a story after the first page of issue 10. So,
we hadn't gotten there yet. I wasn't going to go there.
Yeah, you know what I mean. It's just I think a little mistake,
like a little squiggle or something, or maybe some of the other ones had tattoos or something.
Maybe, you know what? Maybe a bird pooped on his face. Something. I mean, he is really high up. You never know. There's a lot of birds flying around on there. And, I love how Indy thinks, like, swell. Looks like Tattoo sent one of his goons back to finish the job. I read Tattoo, and all I'm thinking is, the plane. The plane, boss.
Tattoo.
Can you imagine Knick Knack coming around that corner going, eh.
Hello, Mr. Van.
Mr. Anka.
Hello, Mr. Jones. Indy.
I don't think Nick Nack could put the hurting on Indy's hand and arms the way that this guy's doing.
Now, Rob, how did that feel when you were hanging on there? You had that
I'll
kung
tell you
fu grip
what.
going.
I was thinking I'm going to have the longest fingers on the block.
Yep. It's funny that you thought that. Indy thought the same thing.
Yeah, well, we had to be of one mind.
Of
Man,
course.
you do a nice job hanging in there. Can you imagine?
I mean, it's just unbelievable. But I mean, I love this series of panels here. You see the leg just smashing down on his fingers, going up, back down again, and Indy's just hanging on for dear life. And I love the way that they end this issue. I mean, this is a cliffhanger, folks. Come on.
Yeah. I mean, and this kind of like reminded me of a little bit of Last Crusade. When he's hanging on the tank, and he's just like getting smashed, yeah, just that desperation. I mean, that's got to be painful, man. Like, Indy's being pushed to the limits here.
I mean, the only thing that it's not like exactly like Last Crusade is Indy doesn't have his gas mask bag that magically got over the turret
and then magically gets back off.
Say what you want about Crystal Skull and the fridge is unrealistic and this and that. Come on, you see that in Last Crusade. It's a bad edit, and it takes me out every time. So you know what? Every one of these movies has something in it. So people get over it.
Raiders Rant Part 2.
Raiders Rant Part 2.
Anyway. Great conclusion here. We
love the look on Indy's face in that last panel.
It's great.
Great shot by Dan Reed.
He's at the edge.
Don't miss the crushing conclusion of the Gold Goddess in Chapter 2, Amazon Death Ride.
Yeah, we're left with a lot of questions. Who's the mysterious woman?
Yeah.
Why is she after the idol?
Ooh. Why does she want Indiana Jones dead?
How will Indy escape? Yeah.
And how will he get out of this one?
We got to tune in next time on the further adventures of Indiana Jones. So, yeah, good breakdown there, guys. Appreciate going through that issue and look forward to jumping in on issue 10.
Can't wait.
With you. Yep, can't wait either. And, hey, why don't we go ahead and check out the mailbag?
Mister, get your arm out of that mailbox. I mean now.
Oh, dear me. I haven't had so much trouble delivering a package since the incident in Vienna.
So we got one email in this week from Steve Rivers from Calgary. And, hey, what do you say we let our special guest take over on this one?
Have at.
Wow, I hope I remember how to do this. All right, Steve says, hey guys, great interview on the last IndyCast. It is great to hear when the creative talents on the further adventures of Indiana Jones were not just there doing a job as talent, but also big fans of the franchise, such as Dan Reed. But I also love to hear you guys give some props and love to Temple of Doom. Temple of Doom is such an underrated and underappreciated movie and is judged way too harshly. So what if it's dark? If Indy 2 turned out as a carbon copy of Raiders, people would have complained about that also. The darkness of the film didn't bother me at all, and I don't understand the big fuss over it. Temple of Doom still has some of the best action in any movie. The rope bridge climax still stands as one of the most creative and exciting endings to a movie ever made. I love Temple of Doom, and it was great to hear some appreciation for it. I'm actually starting to hear a lot more praise for Temple of Doom nowadays, and it's long overdue. Cheers, guys.
Well, yeah, thanks a lot for that email, Steve. Hey, you don't have to convince me. Temple of Doom is my favorite Indiana Jones film.
Yeah, guilty as charged. Sorry, I mean, yeah, I mentioned this on one of our previous segments that I think over the years I've been a little bit more critical of it, sort of the cheesy effects and say Willie and all these different things and should short round be. But again, seeing it on the big screen during the marathon completely took me back to that time and put me squarely back in that 1984 watching that movie, and it is a great movie. Love it. And yeah, it is dark, but man, it's just a great Indy. Talk about different levels of Indy.
And I totally agree with you mentioning if Indy 2 turned out as a carbon copy of Raiders. That for me was what really did it for me, was that it was totally different. You didn't get Indy in school. You got Indy in a nightclub bargaining for ashes and a diamond. You know what I mean? He was in danger from the very beginning. There was no downtime here. He was from moment one to the very end of the movie. It was just action nonstop, and I liked the fact that it was a little darker. Didn't bother me at all either, and I also don't understand the big fuss over it. Like I said, I love the film. I think it's great.
Bug nuts crazy. Bug
nuts crazy.
It's just,
sure.
Rob, where does Temple of Doom fall into your reviews? What's your indie opinion on Temple of Doom?
It's not my favorite one, but I have a huge soft spot for it. It's the first one that I ever saw in the series was Indiana Jones and the Temple of Doom.
You youngins.
So
I feel so old.
Well, and so it's the one that I was always, when I was younger and I was pretending to be Indiana Jones, I'm playing out the scenes from Temple of Doom. So I have
Me too.
huge soft
Rip the right sleeve off.
I did
Yeah.
Rob, I did the same thing with my little brother. We would whenever the Rock Crusher fight would come on, I would be the thuggy guard, my little brother would be Indy, and we would have a fight and the couch would be the Rock Crusher, and and we played Temple of Doom all the time. So
Yep.
I know exactly what you mean. I know exactly what you mean there.
So we talk a lot about how dark it is, but there's a lot of humor in that movie too.
Yeah.
That loosens it up and keeps it reminds you that it's just fun.
Yeah,
and it's such, it's just one thing after another. The thrill ride, the minecart chase, implausible as it may be, is something that I love. And I think I mentioned before, a long time ago on one of the Indie Opinion segments, that I love the scene where they jump out of the plane in the raft.
Me too.
I just thought that was it was inventive, it was a great idea, and the way it was shot and done was just perfect.
Well, originally a gag for Raiders that was unfilmed because of budget constraints and time constraints, and
most of what you see in Temple of Doom was cut from Raiders, as we all know.
Yeah,
the gong in the beginning, exactly, the minecart chase. So most of that stuff was it was going to be in Raiders anyway.
Right.
So,
if you didn't like it, that's what you were going to get in Raiders if they had the money and the time to do it.
And also totally agree, the rope bridge still one of my favorite scenes in all of the Indy movies. I love that rope bridge. I love when Indy fights those two thuggies right before he gets out there. The whip comes across the guy's hand. He pulls the sword out. He runs over. He gets chased by in his Han Solo stormtrooper moment. He just runs out onto that bridge. I love that.
Yep.
Great comedic
I
moment
absolutely
too,
love that.
It's the comedy and the adventure.
Yes, the tension there. You could cut it with a machete.
Yes, you could.
Because you've already seen how dangerous the bridge is.
Yeah, exactly.
And to me, it doesn't. There's not a more iconic Indy image to me than his stance right after Willie says, let's get out of here, and he's all of us. That stance right before he punches the thuggy. The backlight. We talked about this before, but it just, to me, it harkens back to that teaser poster image for Temple of Doom.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yep. I think in one of the roundtables that we had before, I mentioned that is my favorite scene from any of the movies.
That's a good
Just love that.
Yeah, I'm coming around. I'm putting Temple of Doom up there. So yeah, Steve, a lot of love for Temple of Doom. It's back in my good graces after all these years.
You're putting it up there where it should be. I think it's right on top. I think it's right along the same line. A lot of people will disagree when I say this. I think it's right along lines on the same lines as Raiders. Raiders is the best Indiana Jones movie without a doubt, but you can have your favorites.
Well, I can't go that far.
Oh, sure you can. Come on.
Don't push it, Keith. Don't push it, Keith.
It's Raiders is the best. Raiders is the best without a doubt, hands down. But
you know what? Let us know. We want to find out from the listeners too, and we also want to find out what your favorite issues of Further Adventures of Indiana Jones would be. Do you like Gold Goddess? Do you like The Fourth Nail? Some of Steve Ditko's art coming up. What do you think, Keith? Where can they send their emails?
Well, they could send those emails at thefurtheradventures@gmail.com. Tell us your thoughts about those comics, our segment, anything else that's on your mind, and please come visit us at our Facebook page. Come on, The Further Adventures of Indiana Jones. We're putting original artwork on there. We got a brand new cover to The Further Adventures, the first new cover in 30 years, folks. It's on our Facebook page. Come visit us. Give us a like.
An IndyCast exclusive. And tell us what you think about Rob being back on the IndyCast. Come on, show some love. Get Rob some love here. We want him back on the IndyCast here. Come on.
Well, that reminds me, as we're talking about Temple of Doom, one of the things that I was thinking about is we talked a little bit about maybe continuing the Indie Opinion later on, doing it a little bit differently. One of the things that I was thinking would be very interesting to do is take somebody that thinks Temple of Doom is the best Indiana Jones movie, or it's their favorite Indiana Jones movie, Keith.
That's me.
And somebody that hates it. or at least thinks it's absolutely the worst one, and let them have a little debate and go back and forth.
Oh, I would love that.
With me as a moderator.
I would absolutely love that.
So if there's somebody out there
could you do
that
better than Jim Lehrer?
Of Keith, well, I don't know about that.
That's how you debate.
Liar.
So,
I love it.
Anyways,
I love it.
That's a thought that we had. So if somebody out there is the exact opposite of Keith, can't stand Temple, or wants to make the argument that it's the worst Indiana Jones movie, maybe sometime we can get all together and have a conversation.
Take
about
Keith down. Take him
on,
down.
Guys. Come on, bring it on.
Bring it on.
Bring it on. Can't wait.
Okay, that's it for the day then.
Well, can't argue with Indy. That's all the time we have for today then. Rob, once again, thank you so much for joining us for this. That was a thrill.
A lot of fun.
Well, thank you guys. It was really, really great to be back on the show. I appreciate you letting me be part of your segment. You're doing a great job. And I'm looking forward to going over issue 10 with you.
Can't wait for it. Can't wait for it.
Looking forward to it. And we're looking forward to seeing all of you back in the Raven's Nest on the next episode of The Further Adventures of Indiana Jones.